دایی یه فرصت خوب حالا پشت مدافع خداداد عزیزی توی دروازه گل برای ایران خداداد عزیزی باز هم روی زمین گشت سرداران بود و توی دروازه بود گل به نام آزمون و برای ایران بزنه کریم اسدی گل توی دروازه کریم اسدی دروازه پرتغال باز شد علی دایی صاحب توپ توی دروازه
اشتباه حرکت از کوچان نژاد فرصت برای کوچان نژاد توی دروازه گل برای ایران.
Hello and welcome back to new Goal Bezan podcast. My name is Arya Allahverdi. Today I'm joined by my two friends, Pezhman Pars, and back from a long hiatus off the podcast is Babak Golriz as well. Guys, how are we all doing?
Hi guys, and Babak, welcome back. Should I say he's always been around, but we would love to hear his lovely voice again.
Good to be back, guys. It's been a while, like you said, so I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into it.
Lovely. So this podcast is going to be, of course, speaking about the new national team squad called up by, I was going to say Carlos Queiroz here, but we've changed. It's Dragan Skocic who's in charge of Iran, and he's called up his squad list for the matches against Uzbekistan and Mali that are going to be played in October. And we're also going to speak briefly about the match played last night between Persepolis and Al Nassr. Before we get on to that, I want to ask you both about your thoughts on what happened before that game with Al-Kassir getting banned for the celebration that he did. I'll put my own thoughts in it as well, but I want to ask you guys first about that.
Babak, you go ahead. You're the man we want to listen to.
To be honest, I was quite surprised, and I tweeted a couple of things about it. AFC is not known to be one of the most thorough or professional or organized organization out there when it comes to these things. So to get this a few minutes, or I think it's hours before the game, or if I'm not mistaken, could have been the night before. I'm not sure when I saw it first, but it was a disgrace in my opinion. No investigation, no hint of an investigation anyway. And as you can see from the player, he's been doing this for a long time, and it's something, let's say, personal, related to his nephew, if I'm not mistaken. So it's nothing to do with Uzbekistan. So for AFC to hand out such a harsh ban, suspension, when you see racism going relatively unpunished in European football, and we're talking about clear-cut racism, it's, for me, it's shocking. But it fits with what the AFC is known for, in my opinion.
I don't want to brush it under the carpet because it is an important topic. One of the things that I think we also need to discuss is, very briefly, is although you can say, I think Babak is right, it was probably the wrong timing to do it, probably a rash decision to make, a very sensitive moment for Persepolis. But I think one thing you should probably say about Persepolis' management and their staff and the coaches is maybe they should have just told Al-Kassir, look, mate, you can do this celebration in Iran and you won't get punished for it. But when you come to a continental competition, and that's, by the way, this is his first time playing outside of Iran in any competition. This is his first time. When you come to an AFC comp, you have to make sure that you're playing to the book. And if you do anything that's out of that book, AFC will take punishment. And also, Iran are no suspect to that. They will punish Iran. So I think Persepolis, maybe not to blame them, but you need to just say, be a bit smarter about this next time. You have a player who's doing that celebration. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be perfectly honest. That celebration can be deemed racist, right? That's a fact. It can be deemed racist. But at the same time, the decision by AFC was rash at a bad timing. So I think there's lots of parties that can be blamed here. But the decision was made and there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to the match itself. Persepolis won. We won't do any analysis on it. We'll maybe do that in a later time for the final. But obviously, Persepolis won the game. They beat the Al Nassr on penalties, and congratulations to them. They'll be going to the final in December 19th to face whoever it is that comes against them, and we wish them best of luck in that final. Okay, on Team Milliy now, guys. The main topic that I want to discuss to you at the very start is the player who got dropped from this list, the captain of the national team, Masoud Shojaei. What are your thoughts on that? We'll go with Babak, Pezhman first.
It's a good and smart move. About time. Look, I think he's a great leader, both on the pitch and off the pitch. But today, that's not enough to just be a good leader. You also have to be a good football player that can cope to play 90 minutes. And let's say that Iran qualifies to World Cup 2022. He will be not just one of the oldest players in Iran, but probably one of the oldest players in the entire World Cup. He didn't even get a single minute in the World Cup 2016, so that should be like a really big hint that your time in Team Melli as a football player is done, but maybe as have another part or responsibility in the national team. I would like that because I think he's a smart human being and he should be valued for that. But at the same time, we must not forget that there are better football players, and at the end of the day, that's what matters most. To win games, to score goals. And Masoud, I don't believe that he can help Team Melli with that anymore.
I have to agree with Pezhman more or less. I think anyone who expected him to be named, I think, should ask themselves the question why. Because, like Pezhman said, he didn't play much of a role at the World Cup or even after that, if I'm not mistaken, under Wilmot. So it would have been a surprise if he was there. It doesn't give the right signal to the others, and it's a friendly at the end of the day. So even if he was going to be in the reckoning for the qualifiers, you don't need to try him out. So right decision there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who has served the national team for a number of years, but we can see that he's not... Listen, there's no criticism to him. He's a fantastic player. He's a fantastic leader off the pitch, but on the pitch, I don't think he's a leader. Personally, I don't think he's a leader. You saw the red card he got against Iraq. It's something that I don't think the national team required anymore. A leader from him. We need leaders on the pitch now. It's people who can do the job as well as be a leader. So I'm not bothered about the exclusion of Masoud Shojaei. But the next one we're going to speak about before we get onto the list of players is Ashkan Dejaga's message on Instagram he put last night. And he basically said, good luck to Team Milliy on your sneaky games, and that I'm happy not to be a part of this. So a lot of people on Instagram and Twitter were suggesting that that was a negative comment, saying that maybe he was salty about not getting called up. Personally, I don't think that is a salty comment because first of all, there's no need for him to do that. I mean, if you think he's put a salty comment, then fine. But saying I don't want to be part, I'm okay with not being a part of this. I don't think that's a bad thing to say. But we'll see what other.
He didn't say I'm okay. He said I don't want to. I'm happy not to be a part.
Yeah,
of it.
I'm happy not to be a part of this.
There.
But I think I'm happy not to be a part of this because there are younger players that can be.
Yeah. Now you're assuming. I mean,
exactly.
When I read it the first time,
that's just my opinion on it. So I want
to. I thought it's ambiguous. The wording in English is not his first language as well, so I found it a little bit ambiguous. I thought, okay, on one hand, maybe it's like a cheeky comment about setting up the friendlies finally after all these times of getting them cancelled, etc. And he's doesn't want to travel for such friendlies at his age. But then when I started to think about it a little bit more, it sounds like something's going on behind the scenes. Maybe the way he wasn't called up, or no one even gave him a call to respect him to the level, say, hey, I'm not going to call you up. So Skokic might have completely shunned him. So either way, it's not positive that he's gone to social media so quickly, reacting to it. So clearly something's not right, in my opinion. So either way, a little bit of extension on the Masood topic. I think that Ashkan, okay, he's still young enough to play a role right now. I would have wanted him in the squad for the upcoming qualifiers because we have our backs against the wall and he's definitely a winner. But for these friendlies, I don't think it's going to be much of a miss.
Yeah, and listen, if you have one way to see this, Arya, and I'm on the complete opposite of that. I believe that he knew exactly what he was writing, and I think he's smart enough to understand that it can be interpreted in different ways, the way you see it and the way I see it. And the way I see it is that this is his way of letting off steam and telling the world that he's pissed off because he wasn't invited to the national team, and he thinks it's his right to be invited to the national team. He thinks he's good enough. If he's good enough or not, to be honest, that's only the coach that can make that decision. We can just say our opinion. But one thing that's clear, that in my opinion, he's not smart enough outside the pitch. You can't write this kind of stuff and don't expect it to blow up because the words, sneaky is not nice. If you really care about Team Melli, then you should say, good luck to Team Melli. I wasn't invited. Just say nothing at all. But, creating this, as we call it in Persian, hoshia, it doesn't look good on him. And to be honest, I think Team Melli is good enough that they're not dependent on a single player anymore. Not even our best players, not even Taremi or Azmoun, Majid Hosseini. All of these players, in my opinion, are good but can be replaced. And that's something we should thank Carlos Queiroz for, and hopefully Skokic can continue that. So if you think that you're too good for the squad, or that you can't accept your role in this, well, then you can take your, sneaky comments back to wherever you came from. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our thoughts on that. But if you've got your own thoughts on it, please be sure to share it with us on Twitter and Instagram. Okay, so moving on to the squad. Before I bring up the squad list, I'm just going to say who the standby players were. We posted on Twitter last night. Got confirmation from the staff that Saeed Azatullahi, Umid Ibrahimi, Karim Ansari Fard, Kamal Kamyabinyas, Hassan Ansari, Hamid Lak, Arif Agassi, and Mehdi Shiri are the 8 standby players. Should anybody from the squad test positive for coronavirus during the camp, only these 8 players can replace those 23. So coming on to the 23-man squad, guys, we had goalkeepers called up. Bernard Van is injured, of course, wasn't able to make it. So we have Payam Niazmand, Amir Abedzadeh, and Rashid Mazaheri. Guys, what are your thoughts on these 3?
Just before jumping into that, I have to say it's really strange for me that you have Saeed Azatullahi, Karim Ansari Fard, and Omid Ibrahimi all playing abroad and named on the standby list. So unless there's something been agreed with those players to let them settle at their new clubs, for me, it's really strange. It just doesn't make sense. These are arguably 3 important members of the squad. And Saeed has started the season relatively well after a couple of years of injuries, etc. And Karim Ansari Fard scored the winner to take AEK Athens to the Europa League group stages. So it's a bit strange unless this has been agreed with the players in advance. So coming on to your questions, I think pretty standard goalkeepers. We saw Amir Abedzadeh having a great game last night against Porto. He was man of the match and he made a penalty save. So for me, he would be the choice probably to start. at least the first game. And without Bayram, it's a good chance to finally see someone else in a relatively, I would say, against relatively tough opposition, because Uzbekistan is an up-and-coming strong team in Asia, and Mali is a standard African country who's always in the reckoning to qualify for major tournaments. So I think it's a good opportunity to see who our number 2 is, because there's no clear indication yet.
I was thinking the same thing. These are good players. I was thinking 2 things actually. One, the Babak view, and the other one is that, damn, we actually have such a decent squad that these kind of players don't even make the squad, for playing. But as Babak mentioned, I think that his idea is probably much more probable. And I also believe that if Saman Ghoddos haven't been and just recently came back to Team Milliy, he would probably be on that list as well, because he needs some more playing time after being sidelined and injured and suspended and everything in Amiens, and now coming back to the national team. So he would maybe be on that list as well. But now hopefully he can come back to the national team and get some starting minutes, because he didn't have that much confidence during Queiroz time. And he wasn't in the squad at all during Wilmot's time. So now it's his time to get back to the national team.
Yeah, we saw that fantastic save that he did last night for against. I just want to say one thing, that it's brilliant to have. It's so refreshing that we've got Bayram, Niazman, Abedzadeh, 3 top goalkeepers for the national team. I think it's very, very refreshing, and I'm really happy that it's able to happen and create competition, because we've never really had that kind of talent pool in goalkeepers. So yeah, moving on to defenders, Purali Ganji got injured, as well as not being able to travel from China, so he was never going to be in the squad anyway. The 4 centre backs that were called up are Majid Hosseini, Aref Gholami, Hossein Kanani, and recall for Khalilzadeh from Persepolis. Personally, my thoughts on this, to give it very quickly, I'm a big critic of Khalilzadeh. Why? Well, because it's obvious why. He was never called up by Carlos Queiroz in that period, because of his attitude, because of the things he said in media against Carlos Queiroz. There was that report that I posted on my Twitter a few weeks ago that he'd said that Queiroz called up players that were damaging the national team, damaging their clubs, and not good enough. Essentially, he was putting his teammate under the bus, and Queiroz didn't call him up. And he's played well for Persepolis, but he never called him up. But Dragan Scottish decided to take him to the national team, and I think it's a decision based on merit from performance rather than actual player itself. Is he the right player for the national team, or is he just is he the right person for the national team, or is he just the right player for the national team? I think there's 2 different questions to be asked there, and I think I don't disagree. I don't agree with it, but it's happened, and I think it's one that we have to kind of accept now. But yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that as well. Babak, let's hear your thoughts on that, please.
I have to say, you kind of answered that yourself by saying he's been called up on merit, but not as a player, because I have to say that once a new coach comes in, everyone deserves a clean page. As much as you or I may not agree with his character, let's say, or he may not be our type of person, but that's something that Skocic has to decide on his own. And he's going to have players that he will favor, and he's going to have players that he's going to be having them on his blacklist, so to say, like Carlos did. So that's going to take time, I think. And looking at the defense, I feel like we're a little bit thin in that area in terms of quality, to be honest. And with Purali Ganji missing, you see that, and now we're having names that are not usually in or around Team Melli. So would be good to test him out. Majid Hosseini also needs some fitness. He's been injured recently at Trabzonspor, and I think it would be good to get for his confidence to be getting a couple of 90 minutes under the belt. Let's see what sort of pairings Kocic is going to put out. I think it's anyone's guess right now. So it's one of the areas which I will be looking at quite closely.
Pezhman, I want to ask you something. I know you're probably eager to speak about Khalid as well, but I want to ask you something about Arif Gholami. Arif Gholami's come in. He was part of the U23 setup. He's done really well for SFL this season. Young defender, very quick defender. He's come in and he probably knows himself that Pro Ali Ganji is going to replace him in the next squad. He knows himself. But what does he have to do to keep that spot?
He have to, this is nothing new, to be honest. He have to show himself as a professional player and a human being, both during training and hopefully if he gets any playing minutes. This is not the first time Pro Ali Ganji have been sidelined for injuries. So the chance of him or anyone else coming and playing is it will happen. Same thing with Majid Hosseini. Majid Hosseini have both been injured and he didn't play that much during the Asian Cup. So those positions, to be honest, all positions are up for grabs. But maybe at this moment, those positions could be even more interesting for players like Gholami and Khalilzadeh. So I don't, as Babak said, it would be really interesting to see how these players will be able to take advantage of this situation that's now been handed to them.
Yeah. Okay, very quickly move on to the fullbacks. Fullbacks are Sadegh Moharrami, Milad Mohammadi, Siamak Nemati, first call up for him, and also a first call up for Mojtaba Najarian, young right back from Fulad, had a fantastic season at Fulad. Very quickly again for myself, I want to say I'm so happy that Moharrami's been called up. I think he, even though he's not played a lot for Dinamo Zagreb, the times that he has played for them, he's been brilliant. I've really been impressed with him. I think he's got fantastic pace. He's good defensively. People are always saying he's not good defensively. I think he's good defensively. If you watch his game even today against Varazdin, brilliant performance. So I'm really happy about that. The other one, of course, that the exclusion of Ramin Rezayan is a big talking point that we will discuss, and I have my own opinions on that. But before we get to that, I want to get your thoughts on the fullbacks that have been called up. Pezhman, you go first, please.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't know why Ramin Rezayan isn't called up, to be honest. I think he's the best Iranian player at his position today. He's got some tough competition there, but he's done well. Maybe the reason that he plays in Qatar, or that he actually plays like in a different position at his club compared to the national team, could be a bit confusing for the coach. Maybe like he knows where he has Ramin and he wants to test other players as well. These are the things that we would love to hear from the coach, like in a press conference or something like that. The reason why some players aren't called up, because the World Cup qualifying games are in a month, in November. If players like Ramin Rezayan and Said Ezzatali, if he will continue to play in Denmark and do good, and a couple of other players, if they won't get called up, that's a statement from Skocic, to be honest.
From Skocic or from someone else? That's the question there.
Yeah. Well, we can all speculate in how the federation works and stuff like that, but I believe it's from. I want to believe that it's from Skocic, to be honest.
Well, I want to ask you one question, but just because I think it's really important to discuss this. He's called up 3 right backs and only 1 left back, and obviously you can maybe consider Haisafi a left back as well. But why do you think he's called up 3 right backs?
I can. Could be a position that is open in his mind. That could be one of the reasons. Could be that he's going to play one of them in a more advanced defense, let's say a more advanced role, but having a more defensive let's call it responsibility. So it's difficult to speculate right now. But on Ramin, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the last few months, he went through some controversial episode, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was rumors or what, but there was something which I didn't really go deeply into, but there was something on social media about him. So I would not be surprised if Ramin has been, let's say, crossed off the list by someone else other than Skocic. So at the moment, there will be a lot of questions until Skocic comes and explains his decisions to everyone. Like Pezhman says, let's not forget, it's very unlikely you're going to get a combative figure like Carlos Queiroz often in Iran. So Skocic is definitely happy to be where he is right now. And with Carlos Queiroz, the situation would be different. So if he felt a player should have been in the squad for footballing reasons, he would have fought to make it happen. But Skocic is still early days, and I'm pretty sure he's happy to be there.
I want to just point one thing, because I think there's something that needs to be said that maybe hasn't been said about Rami Rezaeian. First of all, the squad list that was supposed to be announced in August, there was already reports coming out from news in Iran and within the countries themselves that Voria Ghafouri and Rami Rezaeian are going to get dropped. That was the consensus back then. Now it's come out that they have both been dropped from this list. The thing that I want to point to is that Rami Rezaeian's been a starter for Team Milliy for a number of years now, and for the World Cup and for the Asian Cup. He's been a starter. Sadiq Moharami was always going to become a starter under Skocic, in my opinion, because first of all, he plays in Croatia. Second of all, he was his player at Malavan. And third of all, he actually went and saw him in Zagreb a few months ago. So I think he was always deciding to put Moharami as a starter at right back. The last point I want to make is very important, is that Ramin's playing as if he was to come in and be a number 2 for Sadiq Moharami, I think he would have caused a lot of issues within camp. Not to say he would have complained about it, but I think it would have been bad for him to come in and be a number 2 right back. For that reason, I think Skocic has said to himself, look, I have to now make a decision. Whether I bring in Ramin and make him a number 2 right back, or I bring in Sadiq Moharami as number 1, and then bring a younger right back and develop him under Moharami and make him number 2. That way, the mentality of the players is fresh, and we have a starting right back for sure in Moharami, rather than having a Rami Rezaeian who's been dropped to number 2. That would have been a real issue for Rami Rezaeian, being an experienced player. That's my opinion on it. I think it's something to do with that, in my opinion. But we'll find out if he does explain it in press conferences. Okay, moving on to the midfielders. Said Izzatullahi was not dropped, but he wasn't called up. Izzatullahi, by the way, is one of Dragan Skocic's former players at Malavan, so I know for a fact he is considering him, and he was also on the standby list. In my opinion, I think Izzatullahi is being given time to train at his club, play games. He's not played much matches in the last 3 years. He needs time to play football. I think in the November camp, I think he'll be called up. But the ones that have been called up are Omid Noorafkan, Ahmad Nurullahi, Ali Karimi, and Ehsan Hoysafi, who will now be the captain of the national team. Guys, what are your thoughts? Pezhman, let's start with you, my friend.
I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just friendlies, so I'm fine with almost whoever I was supposed to say. These names that you called up, they all deserve. Could we find more players that deserve a shot? Sure thing, but we have a limited number of players that can be in the squad and can actually be on the field. So Noorafkan he's been in and out of the national team, or at least the talks about him. He's still young, he can develop, and he tried to move to Charleroi, really didn't make it there. But I do believe that with some good preparation and taking him to Europe, he could be an interesting player for the future. So to be honest, the squad for me is like, okay, you all will get your chance now. So prove yourselves. No matter if you shouldn't deserve that place or not. Now you're there. Now it's your time to make the best out of it. So I wish all them luck, to be honest.
Babak, I want to ask you something, Babak. I think because you were speaking about Saeed Azzedolai before, but other player was dropped is Omid Ibrahimi, and he was dropped from the list after being captain. Not captain, but he was one of the captains of the squad in the last camp in last year under Mark Wilmots. Now he's been dropped, and there wasn't any indication why he's been dropped. It's quite a shock, in my opinion. In fact, in my opinion, it's probably one of the most shocking drops in this list. Why do you think it's happened?
Again, could be the theory that a few of the players, he knows what he will get with them, and he's giving them time to settle into their club. So Saeed, Omid, Karim, these are three of those players. So it could be this, which for me, I'm not so sure about, to be honest with you. Could be a chance to break off with the old, let's say, favorites of Carlos, because we know that actually Saeed, Karim, and Omid were three of Carlos, and Ramin were four of his favorites. Now, whether that is something to do with it, or whether they were part of a strong group in Team Melli, which maybe the federation was not too fond of. I mean, this is all speculation right now, but for sporting reasons, it's difficult to justify not having these guys in the team. Yeah.
Is it possible to say? Is it possible to say, Babak, that he's been phased out?
Yeah, but phasing out happens gradually. Yeah. So you would have him in this squad. You would work with him. Maybe have him on the qualifiers, put him on the bench, and then gradually when you don't put him in at all, and you've never worked with him before, you don't really have the chance to know what you're going to get when it comes down to you personally. You don't know what you're going to get when it comes to the big games around the corner. So with Saeed, you explained it. Okay, could be more likely that he wants to give him a chance to settle in. Even then, I'm a little bit surprised. It's not such a Iranian Team Melli manager type of thing to do, because you really think of your own benefit. Actually,
Sorry to interrupt. I think I know why. My guess is, if I'm not mistaken, not any Iranian players playing in the Arab leagues have been invited in.
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah, and Omid, he's like my age.
But Qatar. No, Omid is not 36 years old.
He's 33.
Yeah. So that's a bit younger. Okay, but Qatar, they're playing in Qatar, and Ramin and Omid, right? So, and Qatar is the one Arab country which has good relations with Iran. So I wouldn't like to think this is anything to do with politics.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's politics at all. I'm just thinking about football-wise.
Pezhman, I want to just build on your point. I think you're absolutely correct.
Listen, I believe that Skocic is showing, maybe sending a signal here. You can be the best player in whatever the names of the teams are. At the end of the day, it's just a Qatari league. The Qatari league isn't as strong as the Iranian league. Or maybe you just want to show that even if you play in not a good team or not a good league, like I said,
but that's not a message you send before you've had any matches as manager. It's a message you send after you've given the players a chance, after you've had one or two squads, and then you try to put that message across. To send such a message before any sort of let's call it call-ups or matches, and for me it's strange. I mean,
maybe, but on the other hand, he's been in Iran for a long time. This is not a new issue for him. He's talking about playing in the Arab leagues and becoming a worse player, but a richer player. So maybe he values these Arif Gholami kind of players that sticks to Iran, or maybe plays in Sepahan or whatever other teams that he thinks are a better competitive league and better clubs than the Arab clubs. I don't know, but I don't think it could do with politics. It's just a guess here, to be honest. I think that's it's shown here. Sorry, Arya, you wanted to say something before.
Just because I think it's very important to bring this up. One player who's not been called up by the way, in this list that's not really been discussed for some reason is Merad Mohammadi, who had a brilliant season at Portugal last season. He's not been called up. He's just moved to Al Arabi.
Exactly.
So it's a good point that you make, Pezhman, that possibly what he's doing is Babak's right. Babak's saying that it's something that you would normally do in a bigger time scale. But maybe he's saying, you know what? Look, we've got 2 important games coming up. We have to win them. Simple as that. And he said, you know what? Excuse my language. I was going to say something else, but blah blah. We have to make sure that this squad is at full capacity, and these players are not just going to play in a club for money, and they're playing because they want to play football. And if a player like Merad Mohammadi goes from a team like Aves, and we know he had offers from in Europe, and he goes to Qatar, he shouldn't be called up. Why? Because you aren't showing me that you want to play football. You are showing me that you want to make money, and that's his opinion. That's what he wants from a footballer. That might not be something that Queiroz wants. Queiroz might have said, you know what, I don't care where you play. I trust you. That's his opinion. That's him as a coach. But Skocic maybe has his way of doing things. He's like, you know what, I want players who really want to play for a team and develop as players, not players who just want to come in and play football and expect a call-up. That's not the way he wants to work. Maybe that could be another theory that we maybe are just bringing up for no reason. But it could be true. It could be true. So moving on to that part of the field now, the attacking midfielders and wingers are called up by Skocic have been Ali Golizadeh, Salman Ghoddos, Mehdi Qaedi, although you can maybe put Mehdi Qaedi with the forwards, but looking with the wingers just now, Mehdi Torabi, and also Vaid Amiri. For me, Jahan Bakhsh wasn't called up because he's injured. That's the reason why he's not called up. But for me, Mehdi Qaedi is a player who has matured so much this season. I wasn't a critic of him, but I always said, this kid, he had a car accident a couple of years ago. He killed his friend, and he didn't seem like the kind of kid that I would trust in a national team, first and foremost. But the way he's come in and played for Esteghlal this season, the amount of assists, the amount of goals, the way he scored goals out of nothing, literally out of nothing, he's won games for his team, and it's really impressive to see. And I'm really happy that he's been called up. With the inclusion of the recall of Salman Ghoddos, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because we need players like Ghoddos in this national team, players of high quality. And I'm so happy that he went to Brentford and he's rekindled his career. Ali Golizadeh, a player who's developed beyond belief in Charleroi this season, really beyond belief. He's been terrific, absolutely terrific. And also Vaid Amiri, who's a veteran, he's probably brought him in for the experience and kind of honing down the tactics that he will deliver. And also Torabi, who's a guy who's always been called up. So guys, Babak, what are your thoughts on the wingers, the attacking midfielders?
I think that's the most promising parts of the squad, not only in terms of who's there, but also considering that someone like Jahan Bakhsh is not even there and he will come back into the fold when he's fit. I actually think Jahan Bakhsh has started this season quite well in Brighton. So I'm excited. I think Ghoddos, this is a chance for him to finally come out of the shadows because arguably he has not yet shown, let's say, his best at Team Melli. He's shown it in bits and bursts, but never like in a sustained period. Of course, he's never had that run of games either. That has to be said. But this is a chance where there is no Ansari Fahad, there is no Jahan Bakhsh, there is no Ashkan Dejava. There's a lot of players out, and this is a chance where I look at the squad and I say Ghoddos is probably the most talented player there in terms of technique and raw footballing ability, other than Sardar, who's a different type of player. So I think I'm excited to see him. And you also touched on it, Golizadeh, who has come leaps and bounds in the last 12 to 18 months in Charleroi last season, and he started this season very well. So I think that if the qualifiers were tomorrow and Jahan Bakhsh was fit, I would still start with Salman and Golizadeh personally. So I'm excited to see that, and I'm also excited to see if Qaedi can be a player at this level. I have my doubts due to his size. I don't see him as more of an impact player, maybe coming in to change things around a little bit. Reminds me a little bit of Insigne, who's also a bit tiny. But let's see. It's an interesting group of players in that part of the pitch.
Well, Pezhman, I want to ask you something really important, and I know you want to touch on these players as well. Is that same thing with the Jahan Bakhsh, with the Touali Ganji and Arif Gholami situation? Same exact thing here, but now you've got players like Vahid Amiri and Torabi who are experienced players that you don't know, and they know for a fact that Jahan Bakhsh will come in for the next squad. How is it for an experienced player to think, listen, I might get dropped out of this next squad if Jahan Bakhsh is fit? So how will they deal with it?
Like any other professional football player, they seize their opportunities and make the best out of it. And who knows how long he will be injured, and who knows if Vahid Amiri all of a sudden becomes like a super good player. He will probably start in the more important games as well, in the qualifiers. So he's getting his shots. He will get his chance. And if Jahan Bakhsh is there, Amiri is not there. That's it. So this is something that Jahan Bakhsh should be worried about, not Amiri.
Yeah. But I want to ask you about Torabi, though, because Torabi is currently without a club. And he is also going to be going to Qatar, possibly, is what the consensus is. Will that mean that Skocic will drop him?
Well, if he's in the squad, then he's in the squad. But he's a good example of how a good player, talented player in Iran, don't have the best people around him. Probably. This is just like a qualified guess, because, to be honest, I don't know the details. But we all know that he's good enough to play in Europe, and we heard that he's got offers from Europe as well. So not seizing that opportunity, playing good in Persepolis and almost moving to Qatar, but still not, is strange. I hope that he can show the very best of himself, because he's still one of my favorites, although he sometimes do and say some things that I don't maybe approve, but on the pitch, I think that's he's lovely to watch. This will probably be maybe his last chance, if he won't get any more playing time in at club level, then why should he play in the national team as well? So Skocic is maybe there to try to test him and see how he can deal with this. I hope he can find a decent club, go back to Persepolis or somewhere in Europe.
Well, there's tons of competition in that position right now. Obviously, you've also got Mohamed Mohebi, who's actually injured just now. He's getting surgery done on his foot. You've got Younes Delfi, who just moved to Croatia, and he's a talent, by the way. He's a fantastic player. And Mehdi Medikhani, who we just interviewed but not released it yet, another great player playing in Croatia as well. Tons of talent that can be called up in the future. Okay, moving on to the forwards. I just want to put out 10 names to you guys. 10 names, and I want you to just tell me something. We have Sardar Azmoun, Mehdi Taremi, Kaveh Rezai, Kariman Sarifard, Aloyor Sayadmanesh, Shahab Zayedi, Ali Alipur, Shahryar Mohanlu, and also on top of that, you've got Motahari and Ansari, who was in that standby list. Those are 11 names, actually. How fantastic is it? How refreshing is it that we've got that many strikers at that high a level, 9 of them playing in Europe? It's fantastic. Obviously, the ones that called up were Osman, Taremi, and Kaveh Rezai, but it's just fantastic to have that. What are your thoughts, Babak?
Yeah, it's refreshing, especially after a few years after the Ali Dai retirement, you could say, where we went for a while looking for our next number 9. And I think arguably, Gucci came along, but I think that was more of an interim role he filled. Until Sardar Azmoun, we were really looking for a proper striker. And now we've got, I'm not sure if I would put all 11 on the same category, but we've got at least 3 to 5 quite good forwards, especially the 3 that have been called up. The others have to, I think, step up and prove themselves in their new clubs, etc., for a more sustained period. But Kove, for example, what a player he's become. He's a very smart team player, and he's proven it in Belgium now multiple seasons. And then you have Taremi, who I remember his debut with Carlos Queiroz. I was one of his big critics, and I couldn't see why he was in the team. And now, for me, he's one of the most indispensable members of the team. What a team player he is. And now he's earned a great move to Porto. It's something he should be proud of. And of course, Sardar Azmoun, who I think in the last 12 to 18 months since he went to Zenit has gone to another level in terms of, I don't know, ruthlessness, consistency, a winning mentality. Absolutely. So I think it's an area where we have an abundance of talent, but it would be interesting what sort of formation he puts out and whether he's going to, let's say, create a partnership or have a lone striker, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Pezhman, I want to ask you something. Obviously, Karim Ansarifard wasn't called up. My opinion on it, just before I ask you, my opinion on Karim Ansarifard not getting called up, even though he did well for AEK in the Europa League and got them to the group stage, we have Osman, Kavarizai, and Ansarifard, okay? Those are the natural strikers. Taremi is more like a second striker. He can also play as a winger, but also as a striker as well. I think Ansarifard is too similar of a, he's a natural striker. He's a number 9. He's a prima punta, as they call it in Italy. Having 3 or even 4 in a national team squad, is that too many? Do you think that's too many? Do you think he's Scottish just said to himself, we need 3. I've got Taremi, Kave, and Mehdi Taremi, and Sardar Azmoun, younger than Ansarifard. Are they the best choices?
At this moment, yes. And let's not remember that Karim just recently moved to Greece. He's been there like a couple of weeks or something like that. And he's played like 5 minutes in Europe and all. Managed to score. That's good. And I know he's played a bit more, but I do believe that this healthy competition is something that we're not used to since, as Babak said, after Adedayi and after Gucci, to be honest. It's really good because, first of all, Karim, he can play on the wings as well, depending on how Skocic wants to play his team. Taremi for Iran during Queiroz time, he played on like a left winger almost. And Azmoun is probably the typical goal scorer up front. But Karim is that kind of player when he plays in his club. Taremi as well. So I would love to see those 3 maybe from start or Kov as well. Damn, we have too many good players up front. It's a lovely problem for Scottish.
Well, we're going to move on to our lineups, our formation, our starting 11s, our strongest starting 11. Now, the question, of course, is the formation. What formation will he play? Will he play a 4-3-3? Will he play a 4-4-2? I think, from what I've been hearing, the murmurs that have been going on in media is that he's going to play a 4-4-2 or a variation of it, whether he plays 4-4-2 or a 4-2-2-2. I don't know. But what's your starting 11? I'm going to go mine first. I'm going to put Abedzadeh in goals, Moharami, Kanani and Majid Hosseini, Milad Mohammadi, 2 middle. I'm going to have, Haisafi and Nurullahi. Then on the wings, Qudus and Golizadeh, and then Taremi and Osman up front. Babak.
I wouldn't disagree too much with what you said. Maybe I would try to. I'm a big fan of Ali Karimi. This Ali Karimi, to be fair, but I would try to see how he fares somehow over the 2 games. If you're going to go for a partnership up front, I would be a little bit more keen to see how if Kave and Sardar can sort of work together. Of course, we know the chemistry between Taremi and Azmoun. Do any of you guys know what formation Skocic favored during his time with Malaban? Although it's
good question. I think from what I've heard, from what I remember at St. Aft, especially last season, played a 4-2-3-1. But that was maybe because of the players he had. Yeah.
But then the national team's been playing more or less 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 under Carlos anyway. So for him to switch it to 4-4-2, of which, I mean,
but then it depends how you look at it. It depends how you look at it. I mean, a 4-4-2 can always be a 4-2-3-1 if you just play the striker
exactly
behind.
That's what I was
going to
say. So it absolutely. So it's not. These are just numbers on a board. Depends how they line up really and how they play. So it's difficult to let's say guess. But I would think it would be sort of a variation of 4-2-3-1 logically in modern football. You would need advanced wide players, and with the team that we have and what we've done in the last few years, that's probably the most likely.
Yeah.
But let's wait and see. It'll be interesting again to see what the new coach has in mind.
Yeah. Okay, Pezhman, do you want to add anything to that, or do you want to just move on?
Just very shortly, I would like to see these players that are interesting, that are knocking on the door in the national team, such as Qaidi and Gholami. So that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would you play Qaidi? Where would you play Qaidi?
On the left wing. I'd play left wing.
I play him like a number 9, striker up front.
Really? As a striker? I would play him just behind the striker, to be honest. I think he's too short to play as a prima punta.
They say that about Messi as well. I'm not comparing him to Messi now. Easy now, but he's done great in Iran, and he's small in Iran as well. So give the guy a chance.
So we have 2 friendlies coming up. We've got 8th of October against Uzbekistan and Tashkent. And then the Team Melli they actually fly with the futsal squad to Tashkent. That's the first ever. And they played Uzbekistan both on the same day. Then they fly to Turkey, Antalya. They play Mali. And that's on the 13th of October. Just, guys, quick thoughts on the games, Uzbekistan and Mali. How do you think they're going to give me your prediction as well, please? Babak.
Honestly, it's been so long since we played, and it will be the first time we see Skocic in charge. So predictions are going to be difficult. I'm more interested in how they line up, who plays, what sort of football they try to play, and see if we can take some positives, because I'm of the opinion that we have our work cut out to qualify for the next round of the qualifiers. And some people have sort of put the vote in that we're going to go to the next round, but I actually think that it's an uphill struggle, and we're going to have to really, really play well to get enough results to qualify. So I think it's important that over these 2 games we see a lot of positive signs that give the players confidence as well. I mean, it's unlikely things can go worse than they did under Wilmots, but still, I think you don't win games on paper. You need to put on the work on the pitch. So I'm excited to see how things pan out.
Yeah. Pezhman?
Good words from Babak. I'm just happy to see a national team, the national team of Iran playing again. It's been too long time.
It's been a year, and we have not seen them on a just even seeing them together. It's just refreshing to see the young players play together. Something working, winning matches again is so important for the national team. That's that, and obviously we hope the best for the national team staff as well. Bayit Hashemian stayed in there. We hope that they do their best with the squad and push on to win these games. Final predictions, guys. Pezhman?
I would love to see some. Yeah, sorry, Babak, you go ahead.
Go on, Pezhman. No, go on, Pezhman. Go.
Okay. I would love to see maybe some bad blood now between Iran and Uzbekistan due to the whole Ali Kassir getting suspended. So a rough game that doesn't end in a goalless draw. against Uzbekistan. And against Mali, I don't know, we talked about stats. 3-1. I don't know. Why not? 3-0. I don't want Iran to. I don't want Iran to get in goals. 3-0.
Love it. Okay, Babak.
I think that we will get a draw in Uzbekistan and sneak a win in Turkey against Mali. 1-0 in Turkey and 2-2 in Uzbekistan.
Yeah, that's what we want to see.
Win. Good one.
I like that one. I think we will just edge it on Uzbekistan, although it'll be difficult away from home. And against Mali, I think that it will be a very tough game. I think we'll probably have to play a lot of defending in that game, a lot of chasing the ball down, the pace that they have. I think probably a 1-1.
We crush them. We will crush them.
We'll see what happens.
Mark my words. Now highlight this and put it on the social media. Pezhman Paris says now, like 10 days before the game, Iran will crush Mali.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, that's what we want to hear. Guys, we want you to get involved in the discussion. Of course, you can message us on Twitter, on Instagram. We will post this week a lot of the national team pictures and videos of the national team training. So please get involved and tweet us. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. We will have a giveaway coming up very soon. I'm not going to say anything about it, although I have hinted a few things on Twitter, but we will have a giveaway very, very soon. So make sure you follow us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We also have our Farsi Twitter, at Golriz Farsi. And also you can listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Those are our main platforms that you can listen to us on. And we will be back with another podcast after the games and analysing the results between Uzbekistan and Mali against Team Melli. Also have an interview with Mehdi Medikhani coming up very soon. So lots of things to come out. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, this is Arash Markazi from ESPN, and you're listening to Bezan, your one-stop shop for all your Iranian soccer news.